Hello and welcome to this episode of Leading with Pride series in partnership with Fairer Consulting. I'm Paul Gibbens and I'm the National Specialism Director for Engineering, and I'm here with the fantastic Amanda McKay of AWE. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, pleasure. Obviously we speak quite often, but I'm really interested, and I think everybody else here would be interested in hearing about your career. What did your career journey look like, and did you always want to get into engineering?
A couple of days ago we were doing career paths with some of our apprentices, and I showed them mine, and it looks like somebody's sort of just scrawled all over the page in the different directions they've gone in. Engineering's always been at the heart of what I wanted to do. Yeah. Started my life as a mine engineer with the National Coal Board. I was a graduate mine engineer through their graduate programme. Really enjoyed mining, very varied career. You become a jack of all trades. Learned many things about engineering skills that I still use today. But 1984, with the miners' strike, really sort of finished the mining industry in this country, and many of myself and my colleagues who joined as graduates all left in the industry. I used my skills moving into tunnelling, which was really interesting, and also into prospecting. So I'm a mining geologist. I went out to Africa looking for actually uranium in Southwest Africa at the time. That career then moved into construction, and I was a management trainee with a group called Lovells, who no longer exists, but they were quite a large building and civil engineering contractor, mostly London based. And I worked for their plant hire side, which was mostly cranes, excavators, big bits of machinery, which suited me to the ground. I loved big bits of machinery. And worked with them for a number of years until I got into a specialist sort of transportation and logistics contractor, a group called Mammoet, or a Dutch company, working offshore oil and gas. Many years working on heavy lift projects around the world. I can safely say that through Mammoet, I visited every continent on the planet. Wow. And did some amazing projects, and they still do amazing projects today. And that led me back into some tunnelling again, and then into the nuclear sector. I really enjoyed the nuclear sector. It's so exacting in its engineering and its process and regulation. That means people do the right thing, and I went from engineering midway through my career with Mammoet into quality and health and safety, and I really got dragged kicking and screaming into that. I love operational management, but I could see that building processes, building better ways of working was the right way to go. I had a bit of a bent for writing process, and I don't write millions of words in a procedure. I like flow charting. I like different ways of doing things, and being able to get across the right way of work. I've been doing that now since the 90s with a number of different organisations. I joined the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority when it started in 2005, which got me into mainstream nuclear work. That was really interesting, absolutely fascinating work working for government and learning how government works. The days of Alistair Campbell, and it really was like the thick of it. You encounter Alistair Campbell in the House of Commons library, and you try to hide. He was an interesting character. I then moved into renewables. And renewables is an absolutely fascinating sector, working with SSE on onshore and offshore renewables, and particularly hydroelectric. That was one of the things that really interested me, because hydroelectric has a lot of tunnelling. I did a number of tunnel projects with them up in the Highlands. And then Balfour Beatty asked me to join them to run their nuclear quality side of life. And that meant work at Sellafield. I got involved in the early stages of the Hinkley project. Again, tunnelling, but quality in that respect. And now with AWE, and I lead the quality function in AWE. We're quite a large team. working on many different things, from digitisation to nuclear safety, to how we do things differently in the nuclear sector. We are operating probably in the 80s in the way that we work. Digital hasn't reached nuclear yet. The closest we get to it is having a mobile phone outside of the wire. So I have a lot of work to do. One of the key pieces of work I'm looking at the moment is how we bring digital and into the nuclear sector, digital factories, digital technology.
Industry 4.0.
Yeah. And that fascinates me. Being able to move an industry from one area of work into another. Being able to automate things which at the moment are very manual, very much driven by individuals following a very strict, almost a recipe to get the end product. It also means we interact a lot with government. Having walked the corridors of Whitehall previously, it's very easy to see how some of my team get sidetracked by civil servants and politicians. I like to keep them on track. I like to give them hints and tips on how to deal with that. So there's a lot goes from engineering into how you manage people and how you work with other people. The quality profession is not always known for its people skills. We're no longer clipboard carrying inspectors. We are part of the planning and preparation of projects and planning and preparation of the workplace.
You're essential, aren't you, to the
process? We are. It's about our strapline is today's quality is tomorrow's safety. We need to build in safety from the beginning to make sure that we don't have incidents, we don't have problems once the product is built.
So on top of busy diaries and the job that you do, obviously very similar to myself, you like to get involved and volunteer and support wherever we can. What are you currently involved in at the moment? I know there's numerous things that you're involved in that I like to get involved in as well. So what are you doing at the moment on top?
So I've been a lifelong volunteer. I started at the age of 17 as a territorial army soldier, became a TA officer. Special constable for nearly 24 years. And when I transitioned, I got involved in a lot of LGBT plus charities. So I'm currently involved with Leap Sports Scotland, who are an LGBT sports charity. We take sports to a lot of LGBT groups. So we sponsor a gay rugby group, LGBT running groups, swimming groups. We're running the gay games in the UK. In the next few years, we're running a sports event in Scotland, which will align if the Commonwealth Games come to Scotland again this year, which they may do. We'll be running a Pride House event as well, which is a LGBT event around the Commonwealth Games. Also involved with Women in Nuclear as the operations exec for their board. That's really interesting, looking at DE&I and particularly gender balance within the nuclear sector. I'm getting involved at the moment with a number of little STEM groups so I'm an honorary professor with the University of West of Scotland. We're rolling out some STEM masterclasses for schools and sort of from junior school and secondary school level. One of my tasks at the moment is how we build quality into STEM. So building on the sort of fail fast and learn technology where people think making mistakes and having problems is a bad thing. Well, actually in technology you learn by failing and rapidly relearning.
You've got to do it
and applying
wrong
it.
to then know what doesn't work and what works.
Exactly. So it's about changing mindsets with STEM. And that's really enjoyable working with different groups, particularly kids. Our latest project is how to make the perfect paper aeroplane. And they learn through doing it. And I think there's a school in Kilmarnock who've done one, and the longest flight was 120 metres. I've never seen that before, 120 metres with a paper plane, one end of the Great Hall at University of West of Scotland's Paisley campus to the other. amazing. I mean, they perfected it, they trialled it, they went through the whole thing, documented every single step, so they knew where they'd gone and where they'd made mistakes, what worked, what didn't work. True, proper research, and
I think that's why I'm interested in engineering, is you have to go to those lengths to get the product out the other end, and obviously your role and what you do. I think we spoke before we came on camera about there's been a huge step forward in DE&I. My opinion is that we're still far off where we need to be, especially in the engineering and technical industries. But have you found kind of any issues? Has it affected your career as you've moved over and transitioned? Has there been kind of anything that stopped you achieving what you know? I know you as a person that I get, from what I know, nothing will stop you.
No.
There obviously is, I think it'd be interesting for the listeners and the watchers today.
I think early on, I knew about my sort of trans status very early on in life, and the age of 20, I looked at transitioning. There was an opportunity in the early 80s to transition, and I looked at the industry I worked in, which I loved what I did, and I thought, there's no way they're going to let me transition and carry on my job, particularly not working in the mines. I mean, we didn't allow women in the mine. It just wasn't allowed. Rather ironic, because the 1800s we used to, but we don't now. And it really put me off, and that's one of the reasons I started to do a lot more things. I threw my work working in the TA stuff and very masculine things, because I thought that was the right thing to do. Yeah. That was the way to defeat that gender dysphoria. And it kept coming back to me, and I didn't transition until I was 49. And that's because that's when I began to realise that there was legislation in place, there was a more accepting community, but I had to do that in Scotland. Mm-hmm. I moved up to Glasgow with SSE, gave me the opportunity in a much more liberal environment to transition. Mm-hmm. Now, I would say since I transitioned, I probably realised that I could have done it earlier if I wanted to. The world isn't as hostile as I thought it was, but it's that perception.
Yeah. But that perception's come from somewhere, hasn't it?
It has, and it comes from the environment that you're in. I knew, having been in policing since the 90s, the police had loads of ED&I training, but did it stick? No. Mm-hmm. They just weren't accepting of anything other than male, pale and stale. Yeah. And that's the way it worked for them. And it's only in recent years that has really changed and come on. But the environment in 2013, when I came out, was a lot more accepting, and I was able to realise, I could be my authentic self, and I could continue in a profession that I enjoyed, and that was my passion. I continued with policing, but in a different environment as an advisor to Police Scotland and British Transport Police, rather than as a frontline copper.
But I think as well, you've obviously gone through those steps, 49, transitioned, etc., etc. You can get to that balance where it is more accessible, more, freer for you, shall we say. Yeah. But then you've also got to have an environment or an employer that is engaging with it as well. Yes. And that's something that I'm conscious of as an ally of the LGBTQ plus and senior leader within Hayes, is we want to give people the opportunity to be themselves. And I think obviously you've got the challenges of home life, but also then making sure that balance is right in work. And did you come up against anything in the working environment, or did you pick and choose where you wanted to be? And
I think certainly when I transitioned, there was the most anxious day I've ever had was going into work the first time as Amanda. And it was never the Amanda bit that was a problem within work. One of the things I encountered, one of the roles that I had with my team, we used to do a lot of rope access to do inspection work. And the organisation I worked for at the time didn't allow women to do rope access. didn't allow them to climb turbine towers. It was not a job for women, apparently. And I'd been, a week before, I'd been climbing towers, I'd been doing rope access. When I transitioned, they took the kit off me, my harnesses, my helmet, all my gear, and I said, can't do my job. And I fought, not just for me, but for the other female members of the wider team to get that rope access, and we got it back by stealth. But once people are doing it, you can't stop them. No. And I've encountered more problems with misogyny than with transphobia.
Have you really?
Yeah.
And I think that kind of leads me quite nicely on as well to, as an organisation, it's something that we're really supportive of, and we've got allies around. But what, I suppose for some of the watchers today, what can businesses do better to support the LGBTQ plus community in a working environment?
I think the key thing is about education and understanding that people want to come to work, be themselves, and be able to get on and do the job for them. And they'll be a better employee, they'll be a more loyal employee, a more engaged employee, if they can be themselves. And being themselves doesn't mean that they're going to be any different to any other employee. They're just going to be happier in their work. And it's about that acceptance that there is difference in society and difference right across the planet. And what we want to do is encourage that understanding of diversity and inclusion of other groups of people at work. Children don't have the prejudices. We learn the prejudices as we become adults. And children are incredibly accepting because they don't know, they don't care. If they like somebody or they get on with somebody, that's all that matters. It's as we get older in life that we learn these different things, either from society, our parents, the environment that we're in. And it's the same at work. We need to be in an environment where we feel supported, where we feel accepted, and then we will be a much better employee, loyal employee. We will contribute more to that organisation. And at the end of the day, it costs you nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you end up with a more engaged workforce.
And that's the holy grail, isn't it? That's to create an environment where people feel like they can be themselves, that can be supportive, that can still benefit from opportunities irrespective of sexuality or whatever, So I think that's where we would like every business to be, and I think it's our job to, like we're doing today, is educate organisations and create relationships. We've met a number of times, but we talk quite openly about everything, and and that's what it's about. It's about socialising with people, and a lot can be brought from that, both from performances, from growth of your business, and a more diverse culture is the right way to go.
Most definitely, and it shows in it. I mean, my current employer, AWE, we have a really diverse organisation, and one of the key things I noticed when I joined was that there was many more people who were different in the organisation. Particularly, we like neurodiverse people because they're fantastic problem solvers, and they can be single-minded and look at something and find a way around it and fix it. But we encourage diversity. We have a large, AW Pride is our LGBT group. We've got staff engagement groups from across the spectrum, from ability, age, gender, religion and belief, all of these different groups, and we support them and bring them all together to work together. We do things like reverse mentoring with our directors. It's really powerful for somebody in a marginalised community to be able to tell one of our directors what it's like to be trans, or to be a young black person starting work, or somebody of belief, and how they engage with what we do. It's a really powerful thing, and it's something I would encourage all employers to do. Spread that word, understand what it's like to be somebody else.
So thanks very much, Amanda, for coming in. I've certainly learnt an awful lot, and I really appreciate you being so open and discussing your kind of career to date and everything that you've come up against. So, yeah, just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Really appreciate you coming in today. Thank you very much for watching and listening today. We hope you enjoyed our conversation. Please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes, or via Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you would like any further pointers on what has been discussed today, then please visit our Hayes UK and Ireland website or faireconsulting.com. Thank you.